I would like to bring in our final speaker in the plenary this morning, in the first part of the plenary this morning. I think it is important also to look at those issues that potentially get sidelined by the attention that a disaster is putting on us always, regardless of what it is. In 2011 in Copenhagen, it was a cloudburst, and now it's COVID-19. So there's always one point of attention. But what about those aspects that go marginalized? Access to water and sanitation for the poor? What is about food poverty? I believe that in some ways, COVID-19 or other resilience events, let's put it that way, will always make us aware of vulnerabilities that have been there for a long time. And all by a sudden, they become really more aware to us because there is like a culmination of effects that we always see. And I know that in this case, social innovation is always an important feature to look at. And Emilio Servera has looked into social innovation more deeply. And I think, Emilio, that you have some interesting examples for us also of how to deal with these aspects in light also of other resilience challenges. Please, Emilio.
Hi, thank you very much, Holger. Thank you very much, everybody, organizers and ARC team and Las Naves team for the support. It's an honor to be here. Yeah, so these kind of issues are at risk of being neglected while governments and society are focused on COVID-19. And my answer will be related to something that my other colleagues have already mentioned. I say that while we are building resilience, we need to have sustainability in our minds. And these are distinct, these are complementary concepts. And resilience building should always be focused on these sustainability principles. And sustainability framework at a global level is clearly established and is defined by the Agenda 2030 and its Sustainable Development Goals. And it was gaining general recognition. It was becoming cross-disciplinary prior to this crisis. So I'd say that we need to continue working from the Sustainable Development Goals perspective, and also considering not only resilience, but also sustainability and any time. And one of the core messages of the Agenda 2030 is leave no one behind. And this can be put into practice directly, also into resilience building. And we know and we are seeing that usually the most vulnerable are disproportionately affected by disasters, by shocks. And one way in which we can be ready for that is performing a vulnerability assessment while conducting a baseline for any resilience development process. So once you have defined your vulnerable populations, your vulnerable areas, it is easier to consider which are going to be their special needs, if any, during crisis, in order to be able to support them.
Thank you very much, Emilio. I think you had an example, I think, recently that is playing in La Horta. I don't know if I pronounce it well, but I think it was a special element in it that was an approach to resilience with local communities. Perhaps you want to elaborate a little bit on that. I think it is a very interesting example.
Yeah, I mean, in Valencia, we don't have a resiliency strategy per se. Some resiliency measures are included within the city Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan. These are mainly in relation to climate change adaptation, and some of them are relevant to the current crisis, such as making public spaces more people-friendly or promoting nature-based solutions. But there are also synergies between some measures in this city Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan and what we are trying to do from Valencia within the H2020 ARC project where I'm working in. So the project started 1 year ago, and we are co-creating tools in collaboration with diverse stakeholders to help cities protect cultural heritage from the effects of climate change. And in our case, our cultural areas of interest in the project are the Huerta and the Albufera, which are two peri-urban cultural landscapes of agricultural and natural significance. And with the support of the rest of great project partners that we have, including ICLEI, of course, what we are trying to know better is not only how we can make the Huerta and the Albufera areas more resilient, but also to get a deeper understanding of the ways in which having those agricultural and natural areas as part of the green belt of the city was going to be a part of the Valencia resiliency. And this was from its inception mainly focused about climate change, about impact from climate change. And when we're talking about climate change adaptation, it's easy to focus on the year 2100, for instance, which is the typical time frame that we're working with in climate projections. But what has happened unexpectedly is that 1 year after the project began, our point of view has changed dramatically. We are not in the year 2100, but we are also not in the 2020 that we knew. And this has been, and this has been incredibly challenging and tough and painful for many people. But it has also shown us that there was no need to wait until the year 2100 to see the real value that the Huerta and the Albufera can provide to the city and the ways in which they help Valencia to be resilient. So resiliency is not only about the climate crisis, it is about any crisis. And these areas and their people have shown how important they are in the middle of a crisis in terms of fresh food supplies to the cities. And this has been highlighted even at a global level by organisms such as the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And this has in turn led to a higher level of appreciation here in Valencia of the role that La Huerta was playing in the middle of this crisis.